who are now in jail. But they're not in jail for drugs. They are in jail for a gun that is connected them to some celebrities and all of that. Meta and all. For Transnet, DJ somebody and how do I conclude that these are the big five of drug cartels? Because they're not charged with drugs. And like you said, the drugs are a big problem. Not that others are not a big problem, but the drugs are the ones that are going to destroy the young ones. And when we are asked about this big five that deals with drug cartels, who are given 2 people who are in prison, but they're not charged with drugs. How do I conclude that indeed these are members of the drug cartel?
Oh, no, remember, the details can be presented by the team as a covert operation. They have the details about it that I might not be able to talk to it. However, a strategy of arrest, of an investigation of a case, you might arrest a person, although in this case you are labeling them as part of Big Five, and the Big Five is involved in this drug syndicate. We might not arrest them for the drug specific, but the bigger investigation that talks about drugs is there. But the charges that we are putting against them are something else. It's a strategy we employ in the police to keep people behind bars until we are ready with a bigger case and we throw it in. A typical example is the same strategy we employed in KZN when we were dealing with the AKA case. And we arrested a whole lot of them for other cases, just to keep them in custody until we were ready with the main case when it was matured and we could identify all of them. And then we started charging all of them for the murder of our celebrities. Otherwise, they were already in custody. So similar strategy we are doing on these ones. We are taking them for other cases. We are adding any other case because they've got many cases. Safe to say, with respect to the case of the death of that employee at Vereeniging, Mr. Swart, had nothing to do with drugs. It was tender issues there that involves Mr. Mleef. But the murders of these DJs is drug related. When the picture you're going to see when the matters gets to court is that this one thought he's clever by stealing this one's drugs and he starts selling them, and this one then killed him. Mm. So not to say the victim is a clean man on drugs. He died because of something that he did wrong to this one. So we have a consignment of over 200 million rand, for instance, if I use that as an example. The police in the organization is there to identify exhibit, you book it in the SCP-13 register in the police station, you leave it there. If it's such big thing that you transfer to another safer storage place, which in this case will be a forensic lab if it's drugs. But it so happened that in KwaZulu-Natal at one stage, there was a consignment found in Durban. And our laboratory in Durban is at Manzimtoti, which is about 10, 15 kilometers away from Durban. And they did not have a facility to keep such consignment of drugs. And the next place where we take these drugs to is Pretoria, where we keep these drugs in the bigger storages. But it so happened that case that the drugs were entered into the SCP-13 register of a police station, booked out the same time, and transported south of KZN to Potchefstroom, and locked into the offices of the PCI that had no one guarding it. And during so-called alleged load shedding at night, there was a break-in in a big storage facility, a break-in inside that facility. There were bags of drugs, and there were also other drugs that were not associated with the ones that came, the consignment that came in. And there were firearms, illegal firearms that were also stored in there. But when the break-in happened, the only thing that was stolen was this specific consignment of 200 million rand of drugs and nothing else. You arrive at the crime scene, you will expect the crime scene is being cleaned, everything is stolen. But you arrive there, you find an AK-47 standing there, then you say, but why didn't they steal this AK-47? Then you realize the mission was not the AK-47. The mission was drugs. So they came to collect what is theirs, and they took it away. They left everything else untouched. And that made us conclude that it was a plan break-in. Because the question we are asking TPCI, why did you allow these drugs to come to your offices? and there's no one guarding, and you have load shedding, and this thing happened during load shedding. So we believe the information tells us that those drugs taken there ended up in Johannesburg are part of the drugs that caused about majority of the murders that happened in Johannesburg. Because people took it and they started stealing, and they did not deliver them where they were supposed to deliver them. And that's what caused the unhappiness from some of the people. So yes, we're not talking about the drugs on the arrest of Mlife, but drugs is part of the problem that leads into the murder. The charge is a murder, but the reason is the drug that comes as a result. So there are many others. The ones that we are not mentioning is because we have not charged them with anything. That's why we're not comfortable to even mention them. But they are there.
Second last, General, MPs involved with these drugs cartels and criminal syndicates, because we are MPs sitting here, and when we are told MPs are involved with drug cartels and criminal syndicates, we start asking ourselves, who are those? And that's what the public is asking itself. And, General, apart from the registering a criminal case, as an MP, if I'm engaged in unethical conduct, there is a committee called Ethics Committee where I can be reported. I don't have to be investigated through intelligence or anything of that sort. Why has there not been an effort from your side or from anyone who's involved, who knows these MPs who are involved in drug cartels, criminal syndicates, report them to the Ethics Committee, including the judges? Because I get worried when judges are subjected to covert operations. It's a threat to our democracy. Any judge that gets involved in wrongdoing must be reported to Judicial Conduct Committee, and will deal with that matter at that level. Not to be told that there's a judge who's going to come before me in the... I'm very sensitive around judges, because once they are threatened, me and you are no longer safe, because that is the last arbiter. They are the ones who must safeguard us. So why are these people not MPs with drug syndicates, judges with drug syndicates, criminal syndicates, MPs Ethics Committee, judges JCC? Why are they not reported there, and we left them in the hands of the covert operations and not anything above?
Yeah, well, majority of these things happening in Gauteng, Honorable Member, and the team investigating in Gauteng has not necessarily involved me. I got to share information, I get to know information because they're briefing me. And what I said earlier, what drew me into this mess was the closure of the PKTT, which was a KZN. Had they left it alone, I wouldn't be sitting here today, because I would not have been privy to what's happening there. I became aware because they're updating me, because they had my members there, and suddenly there's a closure of the team, and then I get to ask questions. That's how I start slowly. Although they are feeding me with information, but it remains a counterintelligence information, so they're not giving me the full picture. They are drips and drabs, and I'm also not asking questions. I ask where there's a need, and they give me what I need to know. So how are they handling it going forward within that investigation? I said earlier, it's an investigation that is not only handled at crime intelligence alone, but is within the intelligence structure. That's how elevated it is. So how are they going to handle it further? I trust that they will follow those channels so that they can be able to deal with it. There are instances that the PKTT have registered complaints against presiding officers in KZN as based on their conduct that we have done. So when we talk about, yes, we use the name judiciary because we wanted to indicate the seriousness of what is happening. I said, unfortunately, some of the information that is at hand, it's a covert information, recordings that are there that I might not be in a liberty to just communicate. I listened to them. That's why I was able to say, okay, here's everything. This is a conclusion that I reached, to bring the attention to the leadership to say we have a problem. The MPs that might be implicated, and I must say up front, as I said about the minister, I'm not in a business to protect people, but I must also acknowledge that majority of the people that end up being implicated, I spoke about the letter of Minister Mkhwanazi of December, the majority of people that get implicated on things, they arrive there by default. They're not aware that they are getting there. So if you're going to be a political party or an MP and you get a financial support from somewhere, and the person who's giving you this financial support is not disclosing the intentions, you're going to get hooked. By the time you open your eyes, you are right in the web. You can't escape it. So sometimes it comes in that fashion without you paying attention. You'll invite, you stand outside your house, you call an Uber car, and the Uber come and pick you up. You have no clue who the driver is. He arrives there and he loads you in the car. You have no clue what's in the boot of the car. There could be a dead man inside, or there could be arsenal of firearms, there could be drugs in it. But when the police stops in the roadblock, who do they arrest? The driver, including you. Because you are found in this consignment of drugs and the dead body. So by default, you become, we can say we're a victim, but you're a participant to a crime. But you're not aware that you're a participant into a crime. So there are many MPs that might fall victim in that fashion. But there are some of them, few, that deliberately are part of the problem, and knowingly so. So we are dealing with those as part of the investigation that we are doing. So it's not that if we're to use percentage-wise, I cannot say that all the MPs are in the wrong, but definitely I think Parliament took a right decision by demanding to know who's financing political parties. But what maybe is missing is to know who's financing an individual MP. Because the MPs within the same political have got ambitions. They fund their own resources to do political campaigns so that they get into leadership positions in the political party. How they go about getting this money can be part of these criminal activities that we are talking about today. And they might not even be aware themselves because someone is helping them to elevate them to a position. So the party discloses, but the individual doesn't, because it's not everything that they disclose. So it's some of those things that might need to be looked at going forward. Thank you.